Hello everyone, it's Rhonda and welcome to a new video. In case you couldn't tell by the B-roll or the little intro montage that I put together, today is the first day of school. We officially have 2 middle school kids. Our youngest is in 6th grade and our oldest is in 8th grade. And that means for the first time since elementary school, they are in the same school. Well, at least for this year. Next year, our oldest goes to high school. But this year, they're both in the same school. So this morning it started off kind of chill. We woke up early, we got all of our stuff done, and then it got really chaotic because I sent them off to the bus stop and the bus never showed up. So I had to go pick them up and take them to school, which is what I was trying to avoid because first day drop off is a nightmare and I did not want to be in that mess. But you know, it is what it is. They got to school on time and I just felt really bad because Gemma's our youngest. She's, like I said, she's going into 6th grade and I think she already had some anxiety about going to a different school and I think she was afraid of getting lost and not knowing where to go. And so I think this was like the worst case scenario for her, just to, just rush into school so she wouldn't be late and already be kind of jittery from that. So I'm hoping, it's 10 o'clock now, I'm hoping she's settled down and she's good. But yeah, that's what's going on today. But this time last year, I did a video where on the first day of school, I did a self-care day. I took myself to Barnes & Noble and Half Price Books and I think Target, and I went out to lunch. I just had a me day and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do that again. I think I'm gonna make this an annual tradition where I go book shopping, I take myself to lunch, and I just do a Rhonda day. So that's what we're gonna do today. It is actually a little bit later than what I planned on. It's after 10 o'clock. But I need to run a couple errands first, and then I think we're gonna go to Half Price Books because there's a couple of books there I think that I want. And then I'm not super hungry right now, but if I'm hungry, we may go ahead and go to lunch. And then after that, we'll go to Barnes & Noble. But the books I wanna get are, some of them are kind of fallish, like some spookier books. And when I get done with Barnes & Noble, we'll come home, I'll go through the books I purchased today, and then I do have a stack of books that I have purchased since my last book haul, which I think was back in June, so I have about a month and a half of purchases that I want to show you. So we're going to do book shopping, we're going to do a book haul, and that's what today's going to be. It's just going to be a cozy book shopping, book haul video on the first day of school. So let's head to Half Price Books, and I'll see you there. Welcome back, guys. I'm so tired. I didn't tell you guys this earlier, but I woke up at 3 a.m. bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I could not go back to sleep, and I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's called perimenopause. I've been waking up probably off and on for the past year, just random times, and I can't get back to sleep. So yeah, I'm exhausted. Also too, my husband's out of town. Anytime he goes out of town, I don't sleep well. So those two things are just working against me. And it is now after 2 o'clock, so I've been up for almost 12 hours and I'm exhausted. But we're gonna get through this. We're gonna go through some books. I'm gonna go through all the books that I got today. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books at Half Price Books and Barnes & Noble. And then I have a little stack of books that I've acquired since my last book haul, which was back in June. And then I have some book mail. So we're going to go through all that today. Also, so just some quick housekeeping. I don't have my lighting set up, so the lighting's going to go in and out. I apologize in advance. But let's start with the books that I got from Half Price Books, beginning with The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell. My best friend told me about this book, I think last spring, and she absolutely loved it. And it has been compared to a combination of Clue and The Great British Bake Off. And she said it was fantastic. She was cackling and she thought it was just a really good murder mystery. So I went ahead and grabbed this one. And then the next book I got is The Last Flight by Julie Clark. I read my first book by this author, I want to say last month or the month before. She is the one who wrote The Ghostwriter. Really love that book and I wanted to read more from her. And I think this is about 2 women who are trying to escape their past. They end up, I don't even know, I think they end up on this airplane. It says 2 women, 2 flights, 1 last chance to disappear. They were both going through things trying to escape people in their lives, and they make a last minute decision to switch plane tickets and end up on each other's flights. Well, one of the airplanes, it crashes, and so one of the women has a chance to start over with a new identity, basically. And I thought that sounded really intriguing. And then this next book was not on my radar to read just because it involves an octopus or a talking octopus, or I don't know, but I keep hearing about it, and you guys know, I get really bad FOMO. So I went ahead and picked up a copy because my Half Price Books had the hardback book, and that is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. You guys probably have heard about this. This is about a woman who, I think she's going through grief. She's going through it, and she visits this aquarium often, and she always goes to see this octopus that lives there. And I think the octopus has a POV in this as well, and that's why I didn't read it. I was like, that sounds weird to me. But the blurb says, a charming, witty, and compulsively readable exploration of friendship, reckoning, and hope that traces a widow's unlikely connection with a giant Pacific octopus. I'm going to give this a chance. I've not heard anyone say anything bad about this book, and that's why I feel like I need to open my horizons and give it a chance. And then the last book I got from Half Price Books is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. No, this is not a used book. I did buy this one brand new from them. In case you don't know, Half Price Books sells mostly used books for half the price that you can purchase them brand new. And all the books are gently used. Some of them are brand new books. But they also have a small assortment of new releases, and I bought this one from them. I don't typically buy a lot of new releases from Half Price Books, but I did buy this one because it was going to be cheaper than what I can get it at Barnes. Now this book just came out, I want to say at the end of July or the beginning of August, but Holly Jackson is known for her YA thrillers. In fact, I do have one of them on my shelf. I have The Reappearance of Rachel Price. I'm hoping to get to that one later this month. But this is, I believe, her first adult thriller. And when I heard about it, I was instantly intrigued by the synopsis because it is about a woman. I believe she's attacked, and the doctors find out that she has an aneurysm that is going to burst. So she only has a week left. So she has a week to kind of solve her own murder. Sounded really interesting to me, but I didn't want to rush out to buy the new release. I wanted to wait and see what the reviews were like coming in, and so far they've been pretty good. So I decided to go ahead and get it, and this was the last book that I got from Half Price Books. All right, moving on to Barnes & Noble. I did get 5 books from them. First 2 books, I was influenced by Liv over at Liv's library, but I was watching some of her fall videos from last year, and one of her rec videos recommended these 2 books. The first one is kind of like a cozy witchy mystery, and that is In the Company of Witches by Aura Lee Wallace. And this is about a witch who helps her, I think her aunt, run a bed and breakfast. And someone, of course, mysteriously dies, and she has to use her wits and her magic to help her aunt solve this murder. And I do love these little cute little cozy mysteries, and I thought this would be a fun one. So I have In the Company of Witches to read in October. And then I got Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer. This one is about a woman who moves from Chicago into the suburbs, and she befriends her neighbors. She joins the PTA, and she joins this neighborhood moms club. And apparently they build like a little clubhouse for their group, kind of like a she shed. And I think not long after they build that, apparently there is a demonic force that turns their quiet enclave into something out of a nightmare. And that's before the homeowner association gets wind of it. So I just thought that sounded intriguing and funny. And I live in the burbs, so that's why I picked up this one, Suburban Hill. And then the next book I grabbed is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I read my first S.A. Cosby book last month called All the Sinners Bleed, and I absolutely loved it. It was kind of like a dark crime thriller. It was so good. And one of you recommended that book, and I asked you which one should I read next, and you recommended this one. And I actually do remember hearing about this, I want to say last year or the year before, but this is about it's about this gay couple who are murdered, and the fathers of each of the men have to work together to try and figure out who killed them. And I believe the couple, one man was black, one was white, and their fathers were never really accepting of their lifestyle. So there's going to be some social issues that's going to be covered in this book, as well as the obvious crime part of it. And hopefully I can read it sooner rather than later. The next book I bought is the fourth book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and that is The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk by Carissa Broadbent. This is part of a fantasy romance series involving vampires. The first book was The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Love that book. I want to say it was a 5-star read. Read it last year. Loved it. Would recommend it. And I read the other two books, and I'm loving the series a little less. And I was kind of hesitant on this one just because I really did not enjoy the third book in the series, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue. But some of the reviews coming out were that this was really good, and I'm hopeful I'm going to love this one, so I went ahead and grabbed it. Okay, the final book that I got from Barnes & Noble is 13 Months Haunted by Jimmy Giuliano, and let's look at the cover. It has this old school CD with a cracked CD case. I love it. But I bought this because I heard it's very nostalgic to the late 90s, early 2000s. And the flap on this book reads, "Click the link if you dare. Librarian Piper Laurie can tell right away there's something strange about the new girl in 8th grade. Even though all the other kids are obsessed with their latest Y2K tech, AOL, Napster, blogs, Avery Wallace won't touch a computer ever. And stranger still, her mother comes to school with her every day, sitting next to her in class. Seeing that Avery's odd behavior is beginning to make her an outcast, Piper decides to befriend her. She wants to support the lonely teen, but it can't hurt to satisfy her own curiosity while she's at it, right? What's up with the rumors that Avery's mom is a witch? And did her family really used to live in a haunted house? But Piper quickly realizes that this might just be the worst decision she's ever made, because there's something dark inside Avery Wallace, and it is spreading." So that just sounds creepy, but really I bought it for the nostalgia. Any book that's set in the late 90s, early 2000s, or even in the 80s, I will absolutely read it. So I cannot wait to read this one this fall. Next up, let's go ahead and go over the little book haul I have. These are the books I've purchased since my last book haul, and it's not a lot. It's only like 6 books. But starting with The Matrimonial Advertisement by Mimi Matthews. I think this is Christian fiction, and which I don't typically read. But I was intrigued by this on Bookstagram because someone read it and said they absolutely loved it, and it kept popping up in my feed, as is how the algorithm works. And I want to read you the back, but hold on, I need my glasses. I can't read this. This one says it is about Helena Reynolds, and it says she will do anything to escape her life in London, even if that means traveling to a remote cliffside estate on the North Devon coast and marrying a complete stranger. But Greyfriars Abbey isn't the sort of refuge she imagined. And ex-army captain Justin Thornhill, though he may be tall, dark, and devastatingly handsome, is anything but a romantic hero. And Justin apparently has spent the last 2 decades making his fortune, settling scores, and suffering a prolonged period of torture in an Indian prison. Now he needs someone to smooth the way for him with villagers, someone to manage his household and warm his bed on occasion. What he needs, in short, is a wife, and a matrimonial advertisement seems the perfect way to acquire one. Their marriage was meant to be a business arrangement and nothing more, a dispassionate union free from the entanglements of love and affection. But when Helena's past threatens, will Justin's feelings for his new bride compel him to come to her rescue? Or will dark secrets of his own force him to let her go? So that's what this one is about. I used to read a ton of historical romances not that long ago, I want to say a few years ago, and I haven't really picked one up since, but since this one popped up on Bookstagram, I was intrigued enough to go ahead and get a copy. And then from Target, I got What If I Never Get Over You by Paige Toon. I read last month, oh gosh, what did I read? I don't remember. I read a book by her. I don't remember the title, but I read a book from her last month, and it was my first Paige Toon book, and I really enjoyed it, and so I wanted to read more. And I went ahead and picked up this one. I think this is her newest release. She writes women's fiction with a side plot of romance, and this one says 3 days to fall in love, 6 years to try to forget. And I think some of you have read this, and whenever you post like which books you like, this one has popped up with pretty good ratings. So I went ahead and grabbed this one as my next Paige Toon to read. And then the next one I got is I Bet You Look Good in a Coffin by Katie Brent. And that just looks like a fun cover. I'm not expecting much from this book, but I do like reading these kind of dark comedy mysteries every so often. But the back reads, my name is Kitty Collins and I'm a serial killer. I don't want to kill. It's just so hard to resist. Some men really, really deserve it. And I think this is the second book in a series. I think her first one is How to Kill Men and Get Away with It. So I thought I would give this a try. It sounded like a good fun time. And like I said, I'm not expecting a ton. I've read several of these books recently and they're nothing to write home about, but they just kind of scratch that itch and I wanted to grab another one. The next book I picked up is actually a classic, and I don't typically read classics. I feel like I read my fair share just through junior high and high school and college, and I have had no desire to pick up another classic book. But this is one that I've always wanted to read, and I decided to go ahead and get it because I feel like the fall is the best time to read this book, and that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. But this one is kind of like a gothic psychological thriller. It's about a woman who marries a widower, and when she moves into his home, I don't know if it's haunted, but his wife's presence is still there in some way, and it's affecting their relationship in some way. But I've heard this is kind of dark. I've heard it's amazing. And so this is just one of the few classics that I've always wanted to read, and I went ahead and picked it up so I can hopefully get to it this fall. All right, the next book I got is a fantasy romance, and I got this because I've been hearing some buzz about it, and I've heard that the magic system is really unique and people are actually really enjoying this, and that is Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. And what I've heard about this book is the magic system involves tarot cards, which I find incredibly unique. But the blurb reads, a woman who wields magical tarot cards lands herself in a false engagement with the headmaster of a mysterious academy in this first installment of an enthralling fantasy romance series from the best-selling author of A Deal with the Elf King. I have not read that book, haven't read anything from this author, but I definitely want to give this a try sooner rather than later. I love the sprayed edges, and I just think this is going to be a really good dark academia fantasy romance, and I hope that I will love it like everyone else seems to. All right, the last book in my little book haul is a book I've already read, and that is The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau by Kristen Harmel. This is my very first book by this author. This is kind of like a historical mystery. It's about a woman who is almost, I want to say she's almost 90 years old, and she has been a jewel thief for over 80 years, and she is on the eve of planning her next heist. So this book is told through two different timelines. You are following Colette when she's a young girl, and her mother is teaching her about her family. She comes from a family of descendants of Robin Hood, and all of the women steal from pretty terrible people, and they use the money from that heist to give to those in need. And that's just what she continues with throughout her lifetime. And there is a mystery in this book that she is trying to uncover, and some of her secrets are coming out. So I just thought this was well written. It was a very fast-paced historical mystery, and I would absolutely recommend it for anyone new to the historical fiction genre. I thought it was very easy to understand and to read, and it was fast-paced. I did not love the ending. I felt like everything tied up a little too neatly. I wish there was a little bit more emotional elements, but overall, I think I gave it 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. With that book haul out of the way, that brings us to our book mail. We're going to start with Book of the Month. I have been a member with Book of the Month for over a year now, and I've really enjoyed it. This video is not sponsored. I pay my own money for this book subscription box. But if you are interested in joining Book of the Month, I do have a referral code down in the description box where you can get your first book for $5. And in return, I do get credit for a book in the future. So just know that's down there if you want to take advantage of that. But the 2 books I got, one is a YA fantasy romance called The Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. And I got this just because I think this is Dark Academia 2, and it just sounded really intriguing, and the sprayed edges are gorgeous. Now, I did have to pay $2 extra for this book for the sprayed edges, but I think it's worth it. And I love that Book of the Month is now offering these special edition type books. But this one, the blurb reads, "Welcome to Blackwood Academy, the legendary school located on the fringes of the afterlife. Once a pupil enters the academy arched gates, there's no way out except for the decennial, a once-in-a-decade celebration in which a single worthy student is tested and given a choice: graduate and join Blackwood's magical elite, or cross over to the mysterious other side. This time, though, the rules have changed. The decennial isn't a celebration, it's a competition, and there can only be one victor." So again, this is going to be Dark Academia. I love that this is going to be focusing on the afterlife, and it involves a competition. I love those type of YA fantasy romances. And I think this is just going to be another great fall book involving Dark Academia. Okay, the last book I got is an older book, and I wasn't sure if I should get it or not, but I went ahead and pulled the trigger because I did have a credit to use, because one of you guys actually did use that referral code, so thank you, whoever did. But I got this book because a series just came out on Netflix. I don't know which streaming service, but I keep hearing about it, and I want to watch it, but I want to read the book first, and that is The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. I know, I have a feeling I'm going to hate this book just because of the subject matter, but I'm going into it knowing what to expect a little bit, and I think I'm prepared for it. But in case you don't know, the blurb reads, "The hunting wives share more than target practice, martinis, and bad behavior in this novel of obsession, seduction, and murder." I've heard all of these women in this book, all of them are terrible. There's no likable characters at all. So I feel like if I go into this one with low expectations, I may actually enjoy it. If you read this book, please let me know if you did like it. Hopefully I will, but I do want to read this real soon so that I can go ahead and watch the show and binge watch it. All right, next up is an Amazon package that I actually just got today, and I did go ahead and open it just to see what it was because I forgot. But this is part of I want to say a duology or a trilogy that was independently published, and the author has just got picked up by a major publisher, and they are re-releasing these 2 books, but I wanted to go ahead and get the independent books because I do want to read them. And that is The Wolf King and the Night Prince. And this is about a princess who is kidnapped. I think this is a world that has humans and wolves. And this princess is kidnapped by a wolf. And that's all I know about it. And I'm going to keep it that way. But I have heard incredible things about the series. Everyone who's reading it is just raving about it. And again, I have FOMO, and this is a series I do want to read. And I'm so glad I went ahead and picked up the indie versions. If you live in the States, they're still available. So if you're interested in getting those, go ahead and grab those copies from Amazon. All right, we are almost there. I am on to my very last package from Amazon. And if I am correct, these 2 books are books that I purchased through a recommendation from one of you. In I think my last video or a couple of videos ago, one of you said that you just purchased some books that you think I would like that are just good transitional books from summer to fall. And I looked at your list, and one of them I already had purchased because I got it as part of my book of the month pick, and that is Immortal Consequences. And then with the rest of the list, I went ahead and picked out just a couple of the books just because they sounded really good and I hadn't heard about them before. So thank you for sending me your recommendation. Bowie's in here, so he's gonna knock over the camera. Anyway, the first book I got is Asylum Hotel by Juliet Blackwell. And this says, when a mysterious figure shows up in the photograph an architect takes of the derelict Hotel Sebring, ghostly encounters and murder are unleashed. So I love a good ghost story, and I don't typically get scared in books like at all. Like I get creeped out a little bit, but I'm not like spooked out or scared. I'm always looking for just a good, creepy, spooky book, and hopefully this will deliver that. And then the other one is At the Bottom of the Garden by Camilla Bruce. And this says, a murderess becomes the guardian of two very unusual girls in this mesmerizing gothic novel from acclaimed author, blah, blah, blah. Apparently this is about a woman. I don't know if she's a serial killer, but she kills people. And she has a sister who, her and her husband go on this anniversary trip and they die. And they have these two little girls who they have named Clara to be their guardian for. So these two little girls move in with Clara, and apparently one of them can see dead people. And apparently there is a garden in Clara's, on her property, and Violet can see the dead bodies in that garden. So that is what this one is about. It's gonna be creepy with little kids. You can see dead people. It's gonna be good. I can't wait to read it. Friends, these are, I think I counted 21 books, but these are all the books that I have acquired over the last month and a half. A lot of them I got, I think half of them I got today. But let me know in the comments if you have read any of these. Let me know what you thought about them. Especially let me know about the hunting party, or the hunting wives. I'm a little worried about that one, but I do want to read it before I watch the series, so that's why I got it. But let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know what you thought about them. Do you recommend any? Did you try some and they weren't that great? Either way, let me know. And also let me know if you are adding any of these to your TBR. But I think all the books I got are kind of fallish or spooky books to read in October, and I cannot wait to get to them. Obviously, I'm not going to get to all of them this fall, but I'm definitely going to try. Alright guys, that's all I have for you. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!